I was late to work today, and it was because I had a really nice lunch. I had a really nice lunch with this guy. That's me and conservative columnist Cal Thomas, who I met today in person for the first time. We had a really nice lunch. And I feel okay talking about this publicly because Mr. Thomas wrote a column about the fact that we were going to do this, so everybody who cares about us having lunch knows about it already. The reason we met today is because Mr. Thomas made a comment about me at CPAC this year, an insulting comment, and he felt bad about it once he said it. He called me the following morning and he apologized to me. His apology was really contrite and really kind. He then went a step further and wrote about it publicly, apologizing again in print in an unqualified, totally sincere way. He said, quote, "I had embarrassed myself and was a bad example to those who read my column and expect better from me." An apology like that is a really easy apology to accept. I mean, if you believe that people screw up and that apologizing is the right way to deal with a screw up, then it's very simple. When you are confronted with a sincere, uncomplicated apology, it is the easiest thing in the world to accept that. A good apology, a real apology, essentially erases the mistake. I mean, you don't forget it happened, but you really do forgive it. It's not hard. You move on. You learn from the experience. And you sometimes get a nice lunch with a big, tall conservative guy who turns out to be very nice and very funny. Anyway, a sincere apology, I have always felt, is like magic. It really does make bad things go away. That said, an insincere apology or a bad apology does not work the same kind of magic, which is why conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh is still in the news today, still losing major advertisers, at least 9 at last count, and today, for the first time, losing radio stations that carried his program. The Huffington Post reporting tonight on 2 radio stations announcing plans to drop Mr. Limbaugh's program. And he's now facing the possibility that he could be dropped from Armed Forces Radio, which is a really important place to be if you are in political talk radio. All this is part of the continuing fallout from Mr. Limbaugh attacking a Georgetown University law student as a slut and a prostitute and somebody who ought to put her sex tapes online. Someone who only advocated for insurance coverage for contraception because she was a morally despicable person and a shame to her family. Mr. Limbaugh made those attacks over 3 consecutive days during his show last week. Then over the weekend, he issued a statement which did have the word apologize in it, but which also said that he was just trying to make a joke and that people were wrong to care about what he said in the first place and that it wasn't meant as a personal attack. And he said that his overall argument, frankly, was still true. Mr. Limbaugh then went back on the radio again today and said that the only reason he attacked this law student in the first place is because he was possessed by the left, that the values of the American left wing were what made him say these awful things. And furthermore, the only thing he really apologized for were 2 specific words, the words slut and prostitute, words that he used against that law student. He presumably meant all the rest of it. When you apologize like that, there's no magic. Nothing gets better. And so the pressure is continuing today on Mr. Limbaugh's remaining advertisers. And now that the first 2 stations have dropped his program, expect further pressure on other stations around the country, particularly where he is not very well rated, to drop his program as well. Beyond Mr. Limbaugh's profit margin, however, it seems that the biggest political impact of his failed attempt at a sort of apology may be on the Republican presidential race. Here was how Mitt Romney answered when he was asked on Friday about Mr. Limbaugh's comments. I remember this was before Rush Limbaugh apologized, sort of, about what he'd said.
I'll just say this, which is, it's not the language I would have used.
It's not the language you would have used? Like you wouldn't have said slut or prostitute, but other than that, you were cool with it? Mitt Romney is giving the same caliber of apology for Rush Limbaugh that Rush Limbaugh did. I mean, remember what Rush Limbaugh said, among other things, was that this young woman was a slut and a prostitute who couldn't afford contraception because she had too much sex. Because in Rush Limbaugh's mind, the more sex you have, the more birth control pills you must take or something. The only problem Mitt Romney has with all of that is that he wouldn't have used that specific language, but the rest of it is okay. This started off as a Rush Limbaugh problem. It still is a Rush Limbaugh problem. It's not getting any better for him. But it is now also a Mitt Romney for president problem.